made by Avtar Singh. He mentioned that numerous times the SGPC has taken up the issues of the turban, and they've gone and spoken to members of parliament, the president of Akali Dal has spoken to the Prime Minister along with other individuals, but it is of no avail.
ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਮਸਲੇ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਹਿਯੋਗੀ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਠਾਈ ਜਾ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਕਿ SGPC ਲੌਬਿੰਗ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਸ ਮਸਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਠਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਭਰਪੂਰ ਯਤਨ ਕਰੇਗੀ। ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਕਿ ਪੂਰੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼੍ਰੋਮਣੀ ਅਕਾਲੀ ਦਲ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਨਿਭਾਉਣਗੇ। ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।
So every time they've spoken with the government, they have heeded nothing to the discussion that was at hand. So they're perplexed as to why every time they've approached the government, nothing, no matter has been taken further than the halls in Delhi. As President Sahib has said, not only have they already passed a resolution in Punjab Vidhan Sabha, but also will continue to have the members of parliament in Delhi also bring up the issues again about the turban issue. They continue to fight for the issues of the Sikhs, not in Punjab, but everywhere they can. And they look forward to working again in the United States with the UN, those dignitaries that are here, to do their utmost in every way they can. So at this moment, as Vidhan Sahib has already mentioned what they're willing to do, I once again like to take a minute or two from each organization, because this is the point where we're at. What is the resolution of all of you coming in today? How each of your organization is going to move forward. Yes, we will have the UN, they're working about the lawyers to pursue this matter, but how each one of you, each organization, what is your input going to be, so that we can, at the end of the day, put that in the resolution and also question you if you back away from those things. Because the faith, the Sikh Qawm is sitting there watching. How far will it go before we are into this position? So I would like to pass the mic along one more time and ask for what would you like to include in the resolution, and we will take a consensus of that and release that as our resolution of the day.
Sure, thank you. As a scholar of the tradition, I think one thing that I stand behind and I offer my service to do is to not just reframe the issue in terms of the obvious issue of Khalsa, but to leverage that ideology all the way back to Guru Nanak and the core founding principles of Sikh tradition. And those core founding principles include the idea that Sikhs don't exist for Sikhs. Sikh identity doesn't exist for Sikh identity. Sikh identity exists to pour out something good into the world. And it's not like, we have to fulfill a promise that is unfulfilled there. My point was that United Sikhs is already doing it. So leverage that and I think show that there is a telos to Sikh identity. It is not sui generis. It is not is sufficient in itself. It is for the good of humanity.
ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਕਨਵੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਕਲੂਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਣਾ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ। ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਤੀ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਮੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੈ। ਸਿੱਖ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਸਿੱਖ ਦੀ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਕੀ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਦੀ ਉਲੰਘਣਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਯੂਐਨ ਨੂੰ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਔਰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾਈਕਰੋਸਕੋਪਿਕ ਮਿਨੋਰਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਉਹਦੇ ਹਿੱਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਾਖੀ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੋਏ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਗੂ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਫਰਾਂਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਦਬਾਅ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਮਤੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ,
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
As I talk to Kuldeep Singh and Mankaval Singh ji, we will publish a booklet from Delhi Sikh Gurdwara Management Committee on how our turban distinguish from others in different languages, which will be distributed and kept on international airports. One thing. The another thing, ਕੁਲਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਰੋਡ ਮੈਪ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਥਿੰਕ ਟੈਂਕ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਸਕਾਲਰਸ ਵੀ ਹੋਣ, ਇੰਟੈਲੈਕਚੁਅਲਸ ਵੀ ਹੋਣ, ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਅਗਲੇ 25 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ। ਸਾਡੀ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਇਮੇਜ ਵਰਲਡ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਜਾਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਐਜ਼ ਪਰ ਡਾਕਟਰਸ, IT ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ, ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਸ, IAS, IPS, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਰੋਡ ਮੈਪ ਬਣਾਈਏ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ 25 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਖੜੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧਕ ਕਮੇਟੀ, ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਿੱਖਸ ਅਤੇ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਔਰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੀ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। As I said earlier, our first and foremost issue is identity, our identity. But to do that, we will do everything possible here in states with the help of our congressional leaders, territorial leaders, and all the other Sikh organizations which we are working with. So we will try to move forward to have this done in every possible manner. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji.
Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. The French government clearly, in a way, and I apologise for saying, stuck up two fingers to what the UN decided when it came to the start issue, the Sikh turban issue in France. And as I mentioned earlier, I think an apt response from the Sikh diaspora is if we can pledge within a certain time frame, and I will say, why not 12 months, that we should get the American president, the UK Prime Minister, and the Canadian Prime Minister to take the voice of Sikhs and the issue of the Sikh identity to the world stage. We will take responsibility for the UK Prime Minister, Sikh Council UK and Sikh Federation UK. We'll also take responsibility working with colleagues in Canada for the Canadian Prime Minister. We'll be going there after this event. And I think with all the Americans gathered here today, using the links that you've established with congressmen, with senators, I think it's a realistic aim, and it sends a much bigger message to the world stage that actually the diaspora thinks very differently when it's talking about its identity. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. I think from a Sikh Council UK perspective, I mean, we will continue to work with the European institutions in terms of not just raising the profile, but actually having that philosophical and theological debate about the role of Sikhism, the role of Sikhi in terms of public and private sphere, how Sikhi actually, the principles of Sikhism clash with secularism as explained. And that's very important for us to do. And I think what we can do collectively, Sikhs throughout Canada, USA, everywhere, is that we need to engage with the institutions, but maybe one of the things we need to do, one of the actions we can actually do, is to maybe organise an exhibition at all the institutions, for example, the UN, various UN bodies, and we'll do likewise in Europe. So let's work together to develop a common exhibition that talks about our faith. Let's get away from the emotional aspect. Too often we talk about World War I, World War II. Yeah, everybody knows those issues. They're important. But let's come to the crunch of it. Get away from emotions. and let's look at practicality in terms of human rights issues. So I think that's very important. Just one more thing I'd like to add on to what Govinda said, and maybe a bit controversial. I think it's important to get the Prime Minister or the President of Canada, USA, UK, who have got Singh Mukhar, and they've talked about the role that Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee can play. Maybe a task is that we actually ask them to put the pressure, and we get the fourth Prime Minister of the largest democracy in the world, Manmohan Singh, to be a part of that, and actually put the pressure on. And I think that's very important for us to do. And lastly, maybe there's another message what people in Punjab can actually do. And again, because we've got key players and influencers that are making these points, that actually, in Punjab Assembly, what we should be passing is the link between trade and the STAR issue. What our MPs, Sikh MPs from Punjab should be talking about is actually the trade aspect, and doing the trade-off between trade and right for Sikhs to start. At the present moment, the French economy is all over the place. Hopefully they'll get a new socialist president. We'll see in 2 weeks' time what happens there. So I think that is one thing our colleagues from Punjab can do, is put pressure on the Punjab, not just to pass a resolution, but to pass a resolution linking trade and urging the Indian government to link trade aspects or hold off trade issues with France until this issue is solved. Nothing hurts more than the money in your pocket. If somebody doesn't give you the money in the pocket, that hurts, especially in the present economic climate. And I do wish that would happen. And I've said, in addition to the President of the USA, Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister of the UK, we hope that the Prime Minister of India, the largest democracy, will also be around that table, telling the French that you have to vote to. Waheguru Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. From the World Sikh Council, we have the promise of education among Sikhs and non-Sikhs within the U.S. about the Sikh identity and the freedom and that this identity represents, is the true identity, what it means and what it represents. In addition to that, just the importance of honoring the identity as a basic human right amongst the diaspora community and within the homeland as well. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.